Have you ever wondered how a name, a color, or a forgotten pile of metal could shape the world we live in? Behind every ordinary thing hides an extraordinary story of genius, irony, or sheer coincidence. From a forgotten little silver to an Oscar with 7 companions, from hidden messages in fashion to islands made of trash. One thing is clear: the world is full of astonishing facts hiding in plain sight. Today, we'll uncover 35 of the most surprising truths from history, culture, and human nature. Stories that will make you see the world a little differently. Stay until the end. It might just change the way you think about the familiar. Why is the Academy Award called the Oscar? The Academy Award of Merit, presented annually by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, received its informal but world-famous nickname, Oscar, thanks to one of the most popular and romantic stories. According to legend, in 1931, Academy librarian Margaret Herrick saw the statuette and exclaimed that it looked like her Uncle Oscar. The joke quickly spread among her colleagues, and the nickname stuck, although the exact origin is debated, with other claims attributing it to actress Bette Davis and columnist Sidney Skolsky. Herrick's version is considered the most credible. The Academy officially adopted the name Oscar in 1939. Since then, it has become synonymous with the highest recognition in the world of cinema. How did secret agent James Bond get his name? In 1953, British author Ian Fleming was working on his novel Casino Royale and was searching for a name for his main character, a secret agent. He wanted something short, unromantic, and masculine. Being a bird-watching enthusiast, he found the perfect name in the book Birds of the West Indies, written by James Bond, an ornithologist from Philadelphia. In a 1961 letter to Bond's wife, Fleming wrote, "I must admit that your husband has every reason to sue me. In return, I can only offer your James Bond unlimited rights to use the name Ian Fleming for any purpose he sees fit." Which country reads the most? The most reading nation in the world is Iceland. It sells and loans more books per capita than any other country. Icelanders are known not only as the most literary people, but also as a nation of poets. A passion for composing poetry and mastering verse is considered a national trait. The percentage of poets in Iceland far exceeds that of any other country. What was special about Walt Disney's Oscar in 1937? In 1937, Walt Disney was awarded a special Oscar for his outstanding achievement in creating the first full-length animated feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The award was presented in 1939, 2 years after the film's release. What made this award unique was its form. Instead of one standard statuette, Disney received 1 full-size Oscar and 7 miniature ones arranged on a stepped base, in honor of the film's main characters. The statuettes were presented by the famous actress Shirley Temple, adding charm and solemnity to the occasion. It remains one of the most memorable Oscar ceremonies in history. Where does the name Bikini come from? The now iconic 2-piece swimsuit was named after Bikini Atoll, a remote Pacific island where the U.S. conducted nuclear bomb tests in 1946. French engineer and designer Louis Reard, who introduced the daring garment that same year, hoped it would cause a cultural explosion, just as shocking as the atomic tests. The name was deliberately provocative, linking the swimsuit's impact to the powerful blast at Bikini. Interestingly, although the name resembles the Latin prefix by dash, meaning two, this was purely a coincidence. Nonetheless, it inspired playful offshoots like monokini, a one-piece, and even humorous terms like nokini, wearing nothing at all, originally deemed scandalous and even banned in several countries. The bikini eventually became a symbol of liberation, rebellion, and later, mainstream fashion. Why are horoscopes in newspapers not harmless? According to the law of universal gravitation, planets and stars do exert force on objects on Earth. But that force is so tiny it cannot even compare to the breeze from an insect's wings. The psychological influence of stars and planets, however, can be quite real. Not because of any cosmic energy, but due to the power of suggestion. Horoscopes can significantly affect vulnerable people, especially those suffering from ignorance or emotional distress. Thus, publishing horoscopes, especially in reputable newspapers, is not a harmless diversion. Those who take them seriously may end up making life decisions based on false advice, potentially causing great harm. How did discotheques originate? The history of discotheques traces back to World War II. In Nazi-occupied France, jazz and swing dancing, an early form of twist performed to jazz music, were banned as degenerate forms of American, Black, and Jewish culture. Jazz quickly became a symbol of the French resistance. Playing jazz in famous Parisian clubs and cabarets frequented by German officers was dangerous. So secret jazz clubs began to emerge. Young people would gather at night to listen to old records, live music being too risky, and dance. After the war, this underground tradition survived and spread to other countries, eventually evolving into the modern discotheque. What appearance rules were enforced for Disney park employees? For many years, Disney parks followed a strict dress code known as the Disney look. According to these rules, employees were prohibited from having beards and mustaches. Mustaches were allowed only after 2000, despite Walt Disney himself wearing one. Visible tattoos, piercings, unnaturally colored hair, bold makeup, or extravagant accessories. The purpose was to maintain a clean, neutral, and friendly look, in line with the family-friendly atmosphere of the parks. In recent years, policies have softened. Since 2021, Disney has allowed moderate tattoos, neat beards, and culturally significant accessories as part of a push for inclusivity. However, high standards of neatness and hygiene still apply. How long have Americans been wearing jeans? Americans have been wearing jeans since 1873, when Taylor Jacob Davis and fabric merchant Levi Strauss patented the first denim work pants with copper rivets for extra durability. These pants were designed for miners, farmers, and cowboys in the American West as practical and tough workwear. The denim came from Nîmes, France, hence the name denim. And the word jeans comes from the French name for the Italian city of Genoa, jeans. Over time, jeans evolved from working-class garments into a youth culture symbol, especially in the 1950s and 60s, when they became popular with actors, musicians, and students. Today, jeans are one of the most widely worn items of clothing in the world. How was coffee discovered, and by whom? According to legend, coffee was discovered around the year 850 AD in the Ethiopian province of Kaffa. One day, a goat herder noticed that his animals became hyperactive after eating red berries from a low shrub. Curious, he tasted the berries himself and soon realized that they banished his fatigue. Eventually, people learned to brew a drink from them. News of the energizing beverage spread quickly. Monks began using it to stay awake during long hours of prayer. The world's first coffee shop opened in Constantinople in 1475, and the first coffee houses were built there in 1554. Coffee reached Europe in the mid-17th century, first in Italy, then in France, England, and beyond. In Russia, coffee is believed to have arrived in 1665, when court physician Samuel Collins prescribed it to Tsar Alexei Mikhailovich as a remedy for colds, congestion, and headaches. Where and when did crosswords appear? Primitive crosswords appeared in the 19th century in English children's books as entertaining and educational puzzles. But they were quite different from the crosswords we know today. The first modern crossword, featuring a grid of black and white squares with clues, appeared in the New York World newspaper on December 21, 1913. It was created by British-born editor Arthur Wynne, who initially called it a word cross puzzle. Due to a typographical error in a later issue, the name appeared as crossword. and it stuck. Crosswords gained huge popularity in the 1920s, appearing in nearly every major newspaper and puzzle book. They quickly spread across the globe, becoming not only a form of entertainment, but a tool for training memory, focus, and vocabulary. What holiday gathers the largest number of people in one place? Every 12 years, tens of millions of people gather about 15 kilometers from the Indian city of Allahabad, now called Prayagraj, at the confluence of the Yamuna and Ganges rivers, to celebrate the religious festival Kumbh Mela. The name means Festival of the Pot, referring to the pot of nectar of immortality created by the gods. According to legend, when the gods fought over this magical drink, drops were spilled, and one landed near Allahabad. Hindus believe that ritual bathing during Kumbh Mela not only washes away personal sins, but also brings the Indian nation closer to nirvana. The festival lasts a full month and attracts tourists from around the world. It is recorded in the Guinness Book of Records as the largest peaceful gathering of people for a single event. How does mobile phone use help reduce smoking? In many countries, a curious trend has emerged. As mobile phone use has surged, teen smoking rates have declined, especially among younger generations. This isn't just a coincidence. Experts offer several compelling explanations. First, there's the economic angle. Teens often have limited pocket money, and mobile phones, along with data plans and apps, can easily consume most of it. A pack of cigarettes now competes with streaming, texting, and gaming. Second, and perhaps more intriguing, is the social symbolism. For decades, smoking was seen as a rebellious or grown-up behavior. But in today's digital age, owning a sleek smartphone is a far more powerful status symbol. It signals independence, connectedness, and tech savviness, all traits that matter more to modern youth than smelling like tobacco. Psychologists even note that the ritualistic behaviors once tied to smoking, like handling the cigarette, reaching for a lighter, or taking a break, have been replaced by the dopamine hits of checking notifications, swiping through feeds, and posting selfies. In a way, phones have hijacked the behavioral niche smoking used to occupy. So while mobile addiction has its own risks, it may have accidentally helped push smoking off the pedestal of cool. Why do English sailors wear black neckties? The tradition dates back to 1805, when the British Navy won a major victory at the Battle of Trafalgar, but lost Admiral Horatio Nelson, who was mortally wounded in battle. As a sign of mourning and respect, sailors began wearing a loosely tied black necktie as part of their uniform. Over time, this became a permanent symbol of naval heritage, honoring both loss and bravery. Today, few remember the origin, but the tie remains a tribute to Britain's maritime history. What is the most expensive beer in the world? As of 2025, the most expensive beer ever sold is Alsop's Arctic Ale, which fetched $503,300 at auction. Brewed in 1875 by the British brewery Alsop's for an Arctic expedition led by George Nares, the bottle survived for over 140 years and became a prized collector's item. Other high-priced beers include Brewdog: The End of History, a Scottish beer with 55% alcohol, released in a limited run of 12 bottles, each encased in a taxidermied animal. One bottle sold for $20,000 in 2016. Antarctic Nail Ale, brewed in Australia using melted Antarctic ice, with only 30 bottles produced for charity. One bottle sold for $1,850. Although Alsop's Arctic Ale holds the price record, other rare and uniquely crafted beers also fetch impressive prices. How do ghosts affect the price of houses in England? In the UK, if a house is known to be haunted, its price can increase by up to 25%, especially if it holds historical significance or is linked to popular legends. Such properties are often described as having character and tend to attract collectors, fans of the paranormal, and even tourists. In some cases, haunted houses become rentable attractions, making them not only expensive but also profitable. However, it's worth noting that not all buyers see this as a benefit. For more superstitious individuals, such properties may actually lose value. Why don't samurai serve in the Japanese police? In 1871, when Tokyo authorities decided to establish a police force, they recruited retired soldiers, many of whom were samurai, members of the highest social caste. This created an unexpected problem. Ordinary citizens, when asking police officers for directions, would kneel and touch the ground in a gesture of respect. It took 3 years for the government to recognize the absurdity of the situation. The samurai were respectfully retired, and more ordinary citizens were hired as police officers. Why are buttons on men's clothing on the right and on women's on the left? This tradition dates back to the Middle Ages. Men needed clothing they could fasten quickly and independently, particularly in times of battle. And since most people are right-handed, buttons on the right made the process easier. Women, especially noble women, rarely dressed themselves. Their outfits were elaborate and typically required the help of maids. To make fastening easier for right-handed maids who stood facing their mistresses, buttons were sewn on the left. Over time, this became an established fashion convention, which continues today, even though most modern women dress without assistance. Which are more numerous in the US, McDonald's restaurants or public libraries? At the end of 2002, the US had 15,946 public libraries, more than the approximately 13,000 McDonald's locations at that time. This fact surprised many and challenged stereotypes about Americans reading less than they eat fast food. However, as of May 2025, there are 13,637 McDonald's restaurants in the US, while the number of public library systems is around 9,000, with approximately 17,000 total branches and service points. So today, McDonald's outnumbers public libraries in the country. This reflects rapid expansion by McDonald's over the past 2 decades, while the number of libraries has remained steady or declined. Still, libraries continue to play a vital role in American society by providing access to education, information, and cultural programs. Why did telephone operators in San Francisco's Chinatown have exceptional memories? When the first telephone exchange opened in San Francisco's Chinatown in 1909, being an operator demanded more than technical skill. Operators needed to be fluent in English and 5 Chinese dialects and navigate complex cultural norms. Most remarkably, they had to memorize the names and numbers of all 2,400 subscribers. Why? Calling someone by number was considered rude. Looking up names in a directory took too long, with many people sharing the same surnames. Operators also had to recall professions, addresses, or nicknames. This is why Chinatown telephone operators were known for their phenomenal memories. Their role became a true art form. Where and when is Extraterrestrial Culture Day celebrated? In 2003, the state of New Mexico in the United States established an unusual holiday, Extraterrestrial Culture Day, officially celebrated on the second Tuesday of February. The idea came from a legislator from Roswell and was approved by the state government. Roswell is famously associated with a rumored UFO crash in 1947, where an alien body was allegedly recovered and hidden on a nearby military base. Since then, Roswell has become a global hub for UFO tourism, with museums, festivals, and souvenirs dedicated to alien lore. The holiday represents not only fascination with extraterrestrial life, but also openness to the unknown and respect for the idea of intelligent life beyond Earth. Why are sums written out in words in financial documents? The practice of writing amounts in words originated in 1299, when Florence's city council made it mandatory. It served 2 main purposes. 1. To prevent forgery. written amounts are harder to alter than numbers. 2. To address suspicion of Arabic numerals, which were new to Europe and viewed by many as exotic or magical. People were more familiar with Roman numerals and distrusted the new numeric system. Over time, writing amounts in words became standard practice internationally. And even in the digital age, it remains a reliable way to confirm numerical accuracy. If a discrepancy occurs between numbers and words, the written amount usually prevails legally. What surprised Winston Churchill in Moscow's Metropole Hotel? During his visit to the USSR in August 1942, Winston Churchill stayed at the Metropole Hotel and was astonished by the unlimited flow of running water. In his book, The Second World War, Churchill wrote, "I noticed that there were no separate faucets for hot and cold water above the sinks and no stoppers in the basins. Mixed water flowed from a single tap at the desired temperature. What's more, one could wash hands under the stream directly without using the basin." This contrasted sharply with practices in Britain and other Western countries at the time, where water scarcity meant people filled basins for washing, then drained them afterward. The severity of the issue is illustrated by the fact that during World War II, bathtubs in Buckingham Palace had a line drawn just 13 centimeters from the bottom, the maximum allowed water level. The global shortage of fresh water remains relevant even today. In modern Germany, for instance, washing dishes under a running tap is considered a luxury that only the wealthy or those unconcerned with environmental responsibility can afford. What did US President Theodore Roosevelt say about the importance of education? Theodore Roosevelt placed great importance on both intellectual and moral education. He famously warned, "To educate a man in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to society." To reinforce this idea, Roosevelt gave a sharp example. "A man who has never gone to school may steal from a freight car, but if he has a university education, he may steal the whole railroad." This quote underscores Roosevelt's belief that education without ethics can amplify a person's destructive potential. He believed the true purpose of education is to shape both the intellect and character. What did Napoleon Bonaparte consider the main tools for influencing people? And the most immoral act? Napoleon Bonaparte frequently stated, "There are two levers for moving men, fear and self-interest." By self-interest, he meant not only the pursuit of profit, but also powerful human motivators like pride, ambition, and the thirst for power. He built both his army and his empire upon these drives. As for morality, Napoleon believed the most immoral act was taking on a task one does not understand. He viewed incompetence in positions of responsibility as not just a mistake, but a moral failure, since it could lead to disastrous consequences for others. According to Peter the Great, how should a subordinate behave before a superior? In a decree dated December 9, 1708, Russian Tsar Peter the Great wrote, "A subordinate must appear bold and foolish in front of his superiors, so as not to alarm them with his intellect." Though satirical in tone, the statement reflects Peter's disdain for bureaucratic pretense and excessive seriousness. It is often quoted as an example of his wit and insight into power dynamics. While not a formal rule, it reveals his attitude towards superficial displays of intelligence in courtly circles. What motto did René Descartes try to follow in life? French philosopher and mathematician René Descartes, 1596 to 1650, reportedly followed the Latin motto, "Bene vixit que bene latuit." He has lived well who has hidden well. This principle reflected Descartes' preference for solitude, introspection, and a contemplative life free from fame. He believed that truth is born in the silence of reason, not in the noise of public opinion. For this reason, he spent much of his life in seclusion, working quietly on his scientific and philosophical ideas, far from political intrigue and academic disputes. How is industrial waste used in Japan? Japan uses industrial waste in highly innovative ways. For example, to build artificial islands. One of the best-known examples is Yumanashima, Dream Island, in Tokyo, which was constructed entirely on a former landfill. Industrial waste is also used to expand port areas and construct airport runways, such as the Kansai International Airport, which sits on an artificial island. This approach helps Japan manage its limited land supply, while also disposing of waste in an environmentally sustainable way. What is the world's most dangerous profession? Fishing is considered the most dangerous profession in the world. According to the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, around 70 fishermen die every day, mostly in ocean and sea waters. Major causes include storms, accidents at sea, exhaustion, outdated equipment, and lack of safety measures. The death rate is particularly high among small-scale fishermen in parts of Asia and Africa. Despite technological advances, marine fishing remains one of the deadliest occupations globally. What percentage of global deaths are caused by war? Currently, deaths from military conflicts account for less than 1% of total global mortality. Though wars dominate news headlines, statistically they cause far fewer deaths than car accidents, suicides, heart disease, or fires. For example, road traffic accidents claim over 1.3 million lives annually, and suicides around 700,000. This highlights the fact that while war is devastating, it is not the leading cause of death worldwide. Are there real differences between European and Japanese snow? In 1999, Japan's ski manufacturers tried to curb imports of European skis by claiming that Japanese snow had a different structure and that Western skis were unsuitable. France's Ministry of Foreign Affairs responded sarcastically, suggesting that French roads were structurally different too, and therefore, Japanese cars should be banned in France. Within hours, Japan retracted its claim, admitting that snow in Japan is just like snow everywhere else. What are considered the most dangerous professions in the U.S.? According to public opinion in the United States, the most dangerous jobs include firefighter, race car driver, astronaut, and, surprisingly, football player. This refers to American football, not soccer. The high risk of serious head injuries, including concussions that can lead to chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, a degenerative brain condition, places the sport among the top occupational hazards. Other consistently ranked dangerous professions include loggers, electrical line workers, pilots, and truck drivers, all of whom face high mortality rates due to accidents on the job. What do the rings on the Olympic flag and emblem represent? The Olympic emblem features 5 interlocking rings: blue, black, and red top row, yellow and green bottom row. It was designed in 1913 by Pierre de Coubertin, founder of the modern Olympic Games. Each ring represents one of the 5 continents involved in the Olympic movement: Europe, Asia, Africa, the Americas, North and South together, and Oceania. The interlacing rings symbolize unity and solidarity among the world's nations through sport. The colors were chosen because, according to Coubertin, every national flag in the world contains at least one of them, making the symbol universally inclusive. Little-known facts about the Statue of Liberty in New York. The Statue of Liberty, officially titled Liberty Enlightening the World, was a gift from the people of France to the United States, symbolizing friendship and shared democratic ideals. However, few people know that the statue's right arm, which holds the torch, crossed the Atlantic Ocean 3 times before becoming part of the final monument. Here are more little-known facts. The torch-bearing arm as an exhibit. In 1876, for the U.S. Centennial Exhibition in Philadelphia, the arm was displayed separately to help raise funds for the statue's pedestal. Shipped in pieces, the statue was transported in 350 individual parts packed into 214 crates. It took 4 months to assemble in New York. Designed by Gustav Eiffel. The internal framework was engineered by Gustav Eiffel, who later built the Eiffel Tower. His design helped the statue withstand strong winds. Originally not green, the statue was originally bronze-colored. Over time, it developed a natural green patina that now protects the metal from corrosion. Pedestal funded by Americans. While France gifted the statue, the pedestal was funded through American donations, including newspaper campaigns and even school fundraising. 7 rays on the crown. These represent the 7 continents and 7 seas. Secret room inside the torch. Once a public observation deck, the room inside the torch has been closed since it was damaged in a 1916 explosion. The Black Tom sabotage during World War I. These details show that the Statue of Liberty is not only a symbol of freedom, but also a marvel of historical engineering and global collaboration. How was platinum first used when discovered in the Russian Empire? In 1819, while mining for gold in the Ural region of the Russian Empire, prospectors began finding deposits of an unknown metal mixed with the gold. Due to its gray color and resemblance to silver, it was dismissively nicknamed Little Silver, Serebrishko, and after being separated from the gold, was tossed aside in piles of washed sand. Some particularly clever hunters began using the larger grains of this little silver as shotgun pellets for hunting ducks and other game. The metal was heavy, durable, and just the right size. It took several years before people realized that they had been shooting at birds with pure platinum, one of the rarest and most valuable metals on Earth. Following this revelation, Russia began actively mining and processing platinum, and the Urals became the world's largest source of platinum production in the 19th century. Ironically, a metal once discarded and used as ammunition would later become a symbol of wealth and technological advancement. We've uncovered stories that most people pass by every day, without even knowing they exist. But now you know, the world isn't just strange. It's full of hidden meanings, unexpected twists, and facts that are stranger than fiction. If you enjoyed this journey through the unexpected, don't let it end here. Leave a like, subscribe, and join us next time as we continue unearthing the mysteries, ironies, and quiet brilliance woven into the fabric of everyday life. Because the more we uncover, the more we realize the ordinary is never just ordinary.